says is through any point that's not on a line, there is exactly one line parallel to the given line. Here's what that means, okay? If you want to draw yourself a picture of it, I'm going to go up top. I didn't leave you a lot of room there, did I? So let's say you have a line and you have a point, okay? What this postulate says is there is exactly one line that can go through that point and be parallel to the line that's given. Do you see where that line would be? Try to draw it. Try to draw the line parallel to the line you see through the point that's given. Did yours look like this? Hopefully, yes. Yeah. If it started like this and there was a point here, okay, now that one line would be right here, right? So parallel meaning it will never intersect, but it has to go through that point. That's called the parallel postulate. And that seems like unrelated to maybe this next thing, but it's actually beautifully related to this next thing, which is called the triangle angle sum theorem. Now read those words: triangle, angle, sum. What does it mean to be a sum?
It's addition.
Addition.
The final adding of them.
Of what?
The equation.
The angles, right? If we add the angles in a triangle, their sum is 180, right? So the triangle angle sum theorem says the sum of the measures of the angles of a triangle is 180. Okay? So in other words, if I have a triangle, like you see here, X and Y and Z, right? Those are my angles. And I just realized in the last few days, some of you are struggling with an angle versus a line. What is an angle versus what is the line we're talking about? I just want to show you something real fast. When we're looking at this, okay, what in this picture is representing angles? The numbers, right? The numbers are the angle. So angle 1, for instance, that's this space, right? The angle is this. That's terribly messy, I'm sorry. Angle 6, that's this angle, okay? It's not talking about the line. Now the two lines form the angle, right? What's representing the lines in this picture? The letters, okay? Line A is this line. Line B is this line. So just be careful with that you know what it is we're talking about. When we talk about an angle, we're talking about this space between the lines, essentially, okay? Not the lines themselves. Okay, now that we've clarified that, now we would say the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle C, or X plus Z plus Y, should equal 180. If I add those three angles up, so X plus Z plus Y is going to equal 180. Yes, sir?
How did somebody come up with the amount of 180 for the triangle?
So let me show you.
Whoa.
This is a proof of how they figured out that the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180. This is a fun proof, you guys. So I'm going to talk you through 7 steps that will get us there. I will never ask you to do this proof again. This proof is for educational purposes, for you to learn, not for you to spit back at me, okay? Just try to understand it as we go. That's the whole idea. So here's why this works, okay? Oh, and you know what? Part of this is off. Part of this is off. I'm also going to say, so given triangle ABC, I'm also going to say that PR is parallel to AC. Okay? PR is parallel. I'm just going to give you that as your given. So what is your first step of this proof? The given, right? And if you want to just copy and paste that in or draw an arrow to it, I don't care which route you go. So there's step 1. The reason for it is it was given to us. Okay, so I always like to mark what I know. So they told us these are parallel, so I'm going to mark them parallel because that helps me to see some things. Do you remember well, just looking at this picture, what do you see? Is there anything that stands out to you like, well, I know this, and I know this, and I know this. Is there anything that you see there, Adenius? Angle 1, 2, and 3 are supplementary. They add up to 180, right? 1, 2, and 3 will add up to 180. Is there anything else you see in this picture?
They're congruent. A and C and P and R.
Not necessarily congruent, because the one has an arrow, right? So that's going to keep going. They are parallel lines. Parallel lines. Do you see any of the types of angles we've been talking about?
Would an angle A and angle 1 be alternate interior?
A and 1 are alternate interiors, yep. You see anything else? Jack?
Same with
3 and C are alternate interiors. So there's a lot of things here that if you just look at this picture, you're like, I know this, and I know this, and I know this. That's a proof, right? You write those things down that we know. So I would say the first thing that I'm going to say, now this one seems a little silly. I'm going to say angle PBC, okay? So this angle right here, PBC, and angle 3 are supplementary. Do you know why I didn't say 1 and 2 and 3 are supplementary? Because you have 3 angles. The definition of supplementary angles is 2 angles that add up to 180. So yes, if you told me 1 and 2 and 3 are supplementary, I would take it. It's fine. It's just not technically the best way to say it, okay? But PBC, so that's this angle, okay, and angle 3 are supplementary. Why do I know that? Here's where the reason kind of goes with calling 2 angles supplementary. They're a linear pair, okay? And you may just write linear pair. Sorry, sometimes I revert to cursive. My cursive is so much neater. So if we know they're supplementary, what does that mean? They equal 180. So I'm going to say the measure of angle PBC, oops, that's not a P, PBC plus the measure of angle 3 will equal 180. How do I know that they equal 180? Definition of supplementary angles, right? We said they're supplementary. So by the definition of supplementary angles, I know they add up to 180. Okay? Now here's where we can do a little getting to the heart of it, we'll say. Is there another way you could say angle PBC? What is making up angle PBC? Angle 1 and angle 2. So we can say that the measure of angle PBC is equal to the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2, right? That's just 1 and 2 put together. Does anyone remember what that is? You take the 2 parts, you add them together, you get the whole thing. Angle 1 plus angle 2 equals the whole angle. Yes, angle addition postulate. If you add the 2 parts, you get the whole thing. Okay, so that's angle addition. Now, go back to this step. I said PBC plus 3 equals 180. Well, now I know what PBC is. PBC is 1 plus 2. So I can say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals, and I'm just back up here, right? 1 and 2 plus 3 equals 180. What did I do? I put 1 and 2 in. Substitution. I substituted. PBC is 1 and 2 together. So I put 1 and 2 in place of my PBC. So that's just substitution. Okay, so now it says the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180. Now we're going to kind of go back to some other things we know. You told me earlier that the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of what? Angle A. You also told me that the measure of angle 3 is equal to the measure of angle C. Why did we know that? Alternate interiors. Yeah, take a look at those angles. 1 is congruent to A. 3 is congruent to C. Those are alternate interior angles. Okay. Now, I should have showed you this at the beginning, but what is always this step, the last step of your proof? The proof, whatever you're trying to prove. So I'm just going to circle that, bring it down here. Why am I able to say now that the measure of A plus the measure of 2 plus the measure of C is 180? Transitive-ish. Transitive is not the best one because you have to do it a couple times. Basically what's happening is I'm putting A in place of my 1, and I'm putting C in place of my 3. I'm substituting, right? I'm substituting what I know is equal to that thing. Think basketball. Take out a point guard, you want to put a point guard in. Take out a quarterback, you want to put a quarterback in. That's football, not basketball. So that's substitution. And you're done. That's what they asked us to prove. A plus 2 plus C is 180. So this is how they came up with a triangle will always add up to 180 from that parallel postulate that I just showed you. This is the one line that would be parallel to that. Therefore, those angles have to have the same relationship every time. Okay, questions on that? Okay, take a breath. That's a doozy, right? Yes. No. Nope, I will never give you an 8-step proof on a test. But I just want you to see where it comes from. Like, why are we saying these 3 angles add up to 180? It's not just because they decided, well, let's just call it 180. No, there's reason for that being 180 every single time. Okay? Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is the fun stuff. I love this stuff. This one asks you for the values of x and the value of y and the value of z. First of all, how many triangles do you see in this picture?
3.
There are 3 triangles. Do you see them? You have this triangle, okay, which means 49y and z should add up to 180. You have this triangle, which means 43, 59, and x should add up to 180. But then you also have this triangle. So that means z and 59 and 43 and 49 together will add up to 180, okay? So you have a lot of ways to get to where we're trying to go. You got to figure out what's the best way. How do I get that information? There's not a correct starting spot. The only one that you guys don't know how to find yet, but if eventually you'll be able to, is y. I haven't taught you the theorem that helps you to find y right now with just this information. But you guys know how to find x or z. Where would you like to start?
Z.
Would you start with x or z?
X. Z.
Who would start with x? Who would start with z? Okay, if you want to start with z, you're welcome to. I saw more x votes, so I'm going to start with x. so if we're going to start with x, we're looking at this triangle. What are the three angle measures of that triangle?
43, 59.
43, 59, and x, right? And what do you know about the three angles of a triangle? They equal 180. So we're going to say 43 plus 59 plus x is equal to 180. Okay, then we simplify this. So that is 102 plus x equals 180. And then we're going to take away the 102. So x is 78 degrees. Okay, now I always say it's super helpful to write in what you know. So I know that x is 78. Need my numbers to get a little bigger here. So I'm just going to cross this out, and I'm going to write in 78. Do you see a way to find y right now? Nick?
Can you what is it called? Make 78 y also, because that's the same thing.
They're not the same. Kieran,
You subtract 180 from 78
why?
because the two angles make a straight line.
They make a straight line. They're a linear pair, right? You have two angles here that are forming a straight line. This is a straight line, right? So y plus 78 is going to equal 180. They make that straight line. So we're going to take away the 78, and you get y equals 102. Oh, have you seen that number before? We did see that number before. Isn't that interesting? We'll talk about that in just a minute. How do you find z?
Do 102 plus 49 plus z, which equals 180.
Okay, so you can call this 102, and you can do 102, 49, and z. 102 plus 49 plus z equals 180. Anyone do it a different way? Your other option for z is we have this whole triangle, right? You could say 43, 49, z, and 59 equals 180. If you did it both ways, it'd be a good check, right? I don't expect you to do it both ways, but if you're ever not sure, there's multiple ways, okay? So keep that in mind. So this is 151 plus z equals 180. Take away the 151, and your z value will be 29 degrees. So x is 78, y is 102, z is 29. Do you see how it's very important that you get the first one correct? Because sometimes the first one affects the next one, which affects the next one, right? So take your time, get the right numbers. You'll be much happier with things that way. Questions on that? Yeah, Nick.
How would you have done if you started with a z? How would you do those things?
So if I started with z, I would have set it up as this triangle. So that would be 43 plus 49 plus 59 plus z equals 180, right? That's this angle, that angle. Add those three, which is really 4 up, and subtract. And then once you know z, so we said z was 29. So once we figured this was 29, then I would go, okay, well then 49, 29, and y will add up to 180. And then you could have done a linear pair this way, or you could just use this other triangle. Okay? Any other questions on that? Okay, look for triangles, not just as the one triangle, right? A lot of times there's 3 triangles, 4 triangles, 5 triangles in a problem. So just realize there is a biggest triangle that often gets forgotten about. Don't forget about the biggest one, the one that's got some overlap, okay? Okay, here is the idea that is going to get us to what we talked about earlier, where that 102 showed up. Here's first thing you need to know is what an exterior angle is, okay? An exterior angle is just an angle on the outside of the triangle where we're extending one of our sides of the triangle, and then it's going to be formed with another side of the triangle. So an angle formed by a side and an extension of an adjacent side. So for instance, if you look at this picture down here, we're taking the side of the triangle, which is this one, and we're extending the other side, and that forms an exterior angle. Okay, notice I didn't extend them both. If I extended both, I'd get this angle here. That's not an exterior angle. Okay, an exterior angle is only one side extended, and then you use a different side to go along with it. So just make sure you're only extending one of the two sides that you're going to use. And then with exteriors, there are what are called remote interior angles. If I said I'm going to a remote desert island, what do you think for remote? Far away. Remote. Not close, right? So when we talk about remote interior angles, they're in relationship to the exterior that we're looking at. So for instance, we are going to do, if this is my exterior, I have 3 interior angles. Do you see them? 2, 3, and 4 are all interior angles, but the remote interiors are the ones that are not next to the angle we're talking about, the ones that are farther away. So for instance, if this is 1, then 4 is next to it, it's adjacent. We're looking for 2 non-adjacent interior angles to our exterior angle. So if I'm looking at this guy, angle 1, okay, my remote interiors would be angle 2 and angle 3. Okay, you can see that here as well. Angle 4 in that second picture is adjacent. It's next to the angle. He doesn't get to play. He is not a remote interior. He's a close to interior, right? We want remote. We want the ones that are far away. So it's the 2 angles that are kind of across the triangle from our exterior angle, okay? Okay, so here is the theorem that you didn't know, but now you do know, so you'll be able to use this as a third way to solve that last problem if you want to do it. It's called the triangle exterior angle theorem, and it says the measure of each exterior angle of a triangle equals the sum, remember addition, of the 2 remote interior angles. Okay, so in other words, this angle 1 is equal to the sum of 2 and 3. Does that make sense? Why? Think about it this way. If this is angle 4, I know angle 1 plus angle 4 is going to equal 180, but I also know angle 2 plus angle 3 plus angle 4 is 180, right? So if I just ignore my 4s because they're going to be the same, 1 is going to equal 2 and 3. It's a transitive property. It's transitive property and subtraction property put together. Right? They're both equal to 180, so we could set them equal to each other, and then we just ditch the angle 4, and we're left with 1 is equal to 2 plus 3. Okay? So I'm going to take you back up to the top real fast and just show you that. We said 43 and 59, right? Those are the remote interiors for my angle y. If we add those together, we get 102, which is what we found for our angle y. So you're adding the remote interiors to get your exterior. Okay, let me show you right here. So I gave you 2 pictures. Notice they're different. In the first one, we're trying to solve for what type of angle? Is this interior or exterior? This is exterior. We extended the one side. That's an exterior angle. So I'm going to say the measure of angle 1 is equal to what? What are your remote interior angles for angle 1?
80 plus 18.
80 and 18. So the exterior equals interior plus interior. And it's technically the remote interior plus the remote interior, right? We don't want the one next to it. We don't want this guy right here. We want the ones that are farther away from the angle. So the measure of angle 1 would be 98 degrees. Does anyone see a different way to find it? How could you get to the measure of angle 1 without adding 80 and 18? Nick?
It does 98 plus 80 plus 18 make 180.
Say it again. Does 98,
Like, do all three of those make us 180?
which three?
98, 80. Because then maybe, like, you could, like, subtract it, and then you can get number 1.
So x and 80 and 18. Yes, I think you kept saying 180. So x plus 80 plus 18 is a triangle, right? So that's going to equal 180, which is going to give us this angle measure here, which is what? 82. Okay, so you could every time do this. You could find the missing inside angle, and then that's a straight line. So 180 minus 82 will get you 98. So just know this is really a shortcut for you. If you don't like the shortcut, then do it the long way. Find the interior angle and then find the exterior angle next to it by subtracting from 180 because it's going to make a linear pair every time. Okay, but that's up to you. You choose the method that you like better.
Can you zoom in on the top equation? The purple? Can you zoom in?
The one that,
Yeah.
oh my Apple Pencil's going to die. This one?
Yes.
Okay, now if you look at the next one, it's slightly different. Do you see the difference? Are you solving for an exterior angle on this one?
So
No,
for an interior.
you're solving for an interior. You still have two ways you could do it. You have the quicker way and the way that would take a couple more steps, but maybe the way that seems to make more sense to you, okay? Let me show you what I mean. If this is my exterior and I want to do the quick way, I would say 124 equals what?
59 plus x.
59 plus the measure of angle 2, right? You could call it x if you like a variable better. So all you're doing here is taking away 59, and you get 124 minus 59 is 65. So the measure of angle 2 is 65 degrees. Okay, if you like that method, using the remote interiors with your exterior, great. What if you don't like that method? Could you do something else? And if so, what would it be? You see a different way? Yeah. Okay.
Do the supplementary as 124 and then the open angle and then add all of them and, well, like, do into 180.
Okay, so she's saying these two are supplementary, right? They're a linear pair. So I could say, call this x for now. I can say x plus 124 should equal 180. So take away the 124 and x will be 56 degrees. And then if this is 56, now I have a triangle with angles 56, 59, and the measure of angle 2 that I can set equal to 180. If you do it that way, you get, did I add that right? Yes, I did. So if I add these together, that's 115 plus the measure of angle 2 is 180. Take away the 115 and the measure of angle 2 will be 65. Notice, exact same answer, right? You choose your method. This is the shortcut. This is the theorem I just taught you. But there's nothing wrong with this. If you like that better, then do it that way. If that makes more sense to you, It's more work, right? You can see it's more steps. It's not wrong. So that's up to you. All right, last thing, and then I'll give you a quick little breather before we do some constructing. This one says, below is a radar receiver at A, an airplane at B, and the airplane's ghost at D. What is the value of X? So take a look at this picture. Same problem. And again, two ways you could do it. How do I find X? 30 plus X, so the remote interiors, 30, ooh, that doesn't show up very well, does it? 30 plus X equals the exterior, 80. So take away the 30, and X will be 50, okay? The other way you could have done it is this makes a straight line. So if this one's 80, then this one's got to be 100, and 100, 30, and X have to add up to 180, so that's got to be 50. Okay, totally up to you which one you like better. Can you see that all right? Okay, so that's the first one. I'm going to give you just a few minutes of breather. If you want to start that assignment and try it, go for it. But get your compass and protractor out. And then I'm going to get set up here to be able to show you my compass and protractor. And then we will go from there. Yeah, where's your phone?
I got it taken away. I don't have it.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Go
Can I
ahead.
borrow the staff circle ones?
Yes. If you need a borrow tool, they're in my or help yourself. And then just please make sure I get it back